Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. Today we are going to discuss about the major key takeaways from the recently held India-USA 2+2 dialogue between the defense ministers and the finance ministers of both the countries. So let us start. First of all, the context the context in which we are discussing today's issue is because, as discussed just now, that recently the fourth session or fourth round of 2+2 dialogue has occurred or has took place between India and US in the Washington DC. Here from the India side we have the External Affairs Minister Mr. S. Jaishankar and Defense Minister Sri Rajnath Singh, while from the American side we have the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and State Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who participated in this fourth round of 2+2 dialogue. All these four high officials were also present just before the 2+2 dialogue began. There are also Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi, and the President of USA, Joe Biden, also have a discussion virtually ahead of the 2+2 dialogue on April 11th. Now, if you look at the important points about 2+2 dialogue, you try to understand what actually it is. So, this is a dialogue that India holds with its allies. Currently, we have four countries. With India has this provision of 2+2 dialogue, mainly between the foreign ministers and the defense ministers of both the countries. The major issues that is discussed in this particular forum is of strategic and security issues in nature. That means, as you know, that India is increasing its cooperation at a strategic level, especially with the resurgence, or we can say the rise of China in the Indo-Pacific as well as near the borders of India. Thus, it plays a very important role for India as well as the other allied nations to better understand and appreciate each other's strategic concerns and sensitivities, and also in this dialogue both countries try to take into account the political considerations, political factors that is playing on both the sides. It is in this context you can also try to understand that 2+2 dialogue become much more relevant and much more important because a lot of countries as well as the experts all around the world is criticizing India for its position of abstention on the Russia-Ukraine war. Then the major objective of 2+2 dialogue is to build a stronger and more integrated strategic relationship where a global environment or global relations, international relations are very continuously shifting and changing. If you try to look at the historical background of 2+2 dialogue, so currently as discussed, India hold 2+2 dialogue with the four countries, that is United States of America, Australia, Japan and Russia. Out of these, except Russia, all these three countries along with India is also a member of a grouping that is well known as a Quad. Quad is basically a grouping of these four countries mainly with the intent of tackling the assertiveness of China, especially in the Indo-Pacific region. So, apart from Quad, 2+2 also lead to or also help India in establishing a much more faster and important bilateral cooperation and bilateral agreement with these countries, especially in the sector of defense and foreign affairs. Now, if you look at the historical background of how many 2+2 dialogues India has held with its allied countries, with its allied partners. So, the first 2+2 dialogue was held between India and United States in the year 2018 in New Delhi, when the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and the Defense Secretary James Mattis under the Trump government visited India, and from India's side the late Foreign Minister Srimati Sushma Swaraj and Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman participated in this dialogue. Then the first Indo-Japan dialogue has happened after some times in the year 2019, in the May month of 2019, when the Foreign Minister Motegi Toshimitsu and the Defense Minister Kono Taro from Japan visited India and participated in the conference. Then the first Indo-Australian 2+2 dialogue has occurred in the month of September 2021 between Marise Payne, who is the Foreign Minister of Australia, and Peter Dutton, who was the Defense Minister of India, and then they made their counterparts Sri Rajnath Singh and S. Jaishankar. And then in the same year, that is in the month of December 2021, the first Indo-Russia 2+2 dialogue also occurred in New Delhi when the Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and the Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov had visited India and made the counterparts Rajnath Singh and Dr. S. Jaishankar. So India has held this 2+2 dialogue with all the countries. The maximum number of time this dialogue has been held is between India and United States of America. With other three countries, just first round of the dialogue has occurred. Now if we try to understand the outcome of the Indo-US 2+2 dialogue. So the main or major outcome of this dialogue has been the signing of Troika of Foundational Pact. Troika of Foundational Pact means three major foundational pact to increase or to enhance the military to military relationship between India and US has been signed, and the main objective of signing of this foundational pact is to build basic groundwork and promote interoperability between militaries by creating common standards and systems. Now, what are these Troika of Foundational Pacts? So we have first, that is called as LEMOA, that is short of Logistic Exchange Memorandum of Agreement. Then we have COMCASA, that is related to communications, and then we have BECA, that is Bilateral Exchange and Cooperation Agreement. So let us try to understand about all these three foundational pacts one by one. First of all, if we talk about LEMOA, that is Logistic Exchange Memorandum of Agreement. So basically the signing of this agreement actually signifies the trust that has developed between India and US, especially in terms of military relationship. And by signing of LEMOA, both countries can have access to the designated military facilities on either side for the purpose of refueling and replenishment. This is basically very important for both US Navy as well as Indian Navy, because the net result of signing of this agreement will be that whenever Indian Navy is moving around any areas and it has to refuel itself or replenish or do the maintenance and repair, it can then access the US bases, and vice versa, US naval ships can also access the Indian bases. Now, why this agreement is very significant? Because it shows the mutual trust that has deepened up since the era of Cold War between India and US, because now both parties can actually without any fear can get access to each other's military facilities and get access to each other's military technologies that is present in the naval ships. The second agreement, that is COMCASA, that basically increases the cooperation between India and US and facilitates mainly India to use the US encrypted communication equipment and systems both during the wartime as well as peacetime. This is also shows a higher level of trust because both countries are trusting the military, trusting each other in terms of sharing of encrypted communication technologies. The third is the BECA, that is a wide level engagement where India and US will be able to gain real-time access to the American geospatial intelligence, and this plays a very important role, especially in the time when China is trying to assert itself along the land boundaries of India, especially in the region of Ladakh and Northeast, and thus any change in the build-up of troops or any change in the deployment of military equipments or military bases from Chinese side, India can gain a very fast access by the data that they will receive from the American geospatial intelligence. So all signing of all these three agreements will increase the military cooperation between the three countries and also place India in a much better shape to tackle the problem or the challenges it can face both from China as well as Pakistan in the near or far future. Now, apart from these three foundational pacts, what are the major key points of the recently held 2+2 dialogue? So there are, apart from a lot of issues and a lot of points were discussed, the four major points they can take away is that both countries agreed that they are committed to ensuring a free and open Indo-Pacific in the maritime domain. That means no countries can assert and no country can try to manipulate other smaller countries in such a way that it can threaten the maritime routes of the Indo-Pacific region. The second, also both the ministers agreed that they will work continuously to empower the Quad. As you discussed slightly before, the Quad is a grouping of India, US, Japan and Australia as a force for global good, especially in the Indo-Pacific region. Here, to give you a brief background, earlier the US used to refer this whole area as the Pacific Command or Pacific region as far as their naval capabilities and naval terminologies are concerned. It is with the increase in the relationship between India and USA, we can say the US has changed the term from Pacific to the Indo-Pacific, referring to a single maritime domain. The third important agreement that was signed is the MOU, that is Memorandum of Understanding on the Space Situational Awareness, or also called as SSA in short. Now this is very important, especially in time when India is trying to increase its foothold in the outer space, because signing of this agreement will allow the Indian ISRO, especially as well as the Indian military satellites as well as Indian military command, to understand that how and where the different satellites as well as different objects are moving in the space, and in this way they will be able to understand the what are the countermeasures or measures they have to take, or if there is any threat from this moving objects in the space to India's satellites as a whole. So this is a very important agreement that has been signed in this particular 2+2 dialogue. And the last is US has actually congratulated India because India has decided to join the Combined Maritime Forces Task Force as an associate partner as far as the Indo-Pacific region is concerned. So these are the 4 major key points that we can highlight from the recently held 2+2 dialogue. So what we can say in conclusion, that what both countries aim to achieve from the 2+2 dialogue. So first of all, the strengthening of mechanism of cooperation between two militaries are significant or becomes much more significant in the context of increasingly aggressive China, both as a land power as well as the maritime power. And from India's point of view, also from US point of view, US relies heavily on close ties and a strong record of bilateral cooperation with New Delhi, that is India, to balance China's aspiration to become and act as a regional hegemon. So both India and US have a deep stake to increase and broaden their cooperation in the military sector, mainly to counter the assertiveness of China in the Indo-Pacific as well as along the land border of India. So that is all about this 2+2 dialogue. I hope you understood about this point. Thank you very much.